You look like you got everything under control here, girl. I don't know how you do it.
I don't. It's an illusion.
All right, Ashley, we do this with every single successful entrepreneur that comes on this show. Let's pretend you're stuck in an elevator with a potential huge client. You have 30 seconds or less to tell them what you do. Ashley, what do you do?
Oh gosh, so much pressure. We say we're leading the Romper revolution. We're a women's apparel brand that's so much more than just a product. We're a lifestyle, a community of women, uplifting women, celebrating each other for who we are in this moment. And we happen to have created the hero product, the Romper, and that is a one-piece, cozy wardrobe staple for all shapes, all sizes. We're primarily direct-to-consumer. We've been around for about 5.5 years, and we make all of our clothing in Vancouver, British Columbia, ethically. We're able to hang out with our talented seamsters at lunch and say hello, which is important to us. And we're also really notorious for our collaborations. A lot of influencer collaborations with Jillian Harris, The Birds of Papaya, Hilary Duff, and also some brand collaborations with Sesame Street. And we've got some really fun ones coming in 2022 as well. So I'd say we're disruptors. We're disrupting an industry that's typically made women feel like they're not good enough. And instead, we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to celebrate women and bring them joy.
Now, Ashley, normally when I do these types of interviews with successful entrepreneurs like yourself, I ask for just 3 tips they could give business owners. But I'd like to do a little bit different with you today because I think you are the role model for the 2021, 2022 year. I think the people are looking at you, especially female entrepreneurs, and saying, I can do what she does. I can make my side gig become my main gig. You've been a big role model for them. So let's start off with our female entrepreneurs. 3 tips or pieces of advice you'd like to give to them.
One is to create a village. You can't do it by yourself. So it's okay to put up your hand and ask for help, whether that's your partner, your family, the community. Get a nanny, do what you need to do, but ask for help. The second is to lean in on other women. I think so much of my start anyway was because I had other female entrepreneurs that I just reached out to and said, hey, what are you doing? This is what I'm doing. Like, let's compare notes. And I'd rather learn from their mistakes than my own if I can. So I think that's a big part of it. And the other, I guess, is just, I think a lot of women feel like we can't have it all. And I don't know that you can have it all. I think you're always sacrificing something for something, but don't let that stop you. There are, if you're scrappy enough and there's enough passion there, there's a way. And really it's, tapping into that village I talked about. And also bring women along with you. We have a lot of work to do in advancing women in leadership, women in entrepreneurship. And so bring them along if you can. Try to employ women, try to create your community of women. I talk to a lot of women through social media or women that reach out to me just to have a chat about their business. I think that's the best thing we can do is bring each other along for the ride.
Ashley, I think this is fantastic what you're doing, but I really want to get into how you started. If I remember correctly, you were a teacher?
I was a teacher for 10 years. I taught high school theater, English, alternate ed, but there was something nagging in me. And I always wanted to do something in fashion. I just never thought that I could. I thought it was too risky. And so I spent one summer at the Condé Nast College of Fashion and Design in the UK, where Smash+Tess, in terms of a business plan, was conceptualized. And so I did both for a little while. I was a teacher and I ran my business, which I'm sure lots of entrepreneurs do. We tend to start it on the side, and your side game becomes your main game. And it's great when that happens. And
if I understand correctly as well, that you also have a co-founder, your mom?
Yes, my mom. So I am the Smash. My mom is the Tess. My mom is my best friend, and we've always loved fashion, and our thing has always been matching Christmas pajamas. So we plan all year, what were we gonna wear? And so when I realized I was kind of feeling like I was nearing the end of my career in teaching, she was the one who really pushed me to follow the dreams of what started as potentially a PJ line, but really what's become so much more than that. And although she's not in the business every day, she's a really trusted advisor, our first investor, and actually my best friend, Mercedes, joined our team really early on too. So it's the three of us, and I feel very lucky because I get to hang out with my best friend and my mom every day. What's better than that?
So what was it like in the first couple of years as you started? This was your side gig turning into your main gig. You're working with mom. You're leaving the teaching world. What was that all like?
Oh, it was terrifying, but so exciting all at once. I think, I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. So people often ask me, like, when was that moment you knew you were going to be an entrepreneur? And my answer is always, I think I became an entrepreneur by accident. And now I love it. But it was, a real challenge in the beginning. First, you're just constrained by like time and, you've got competing priorities, and then it starts to grow and scale. And that's a whole new set of challenges. I also had total imposter syndrome. I wasn't in the fashion industry my whole life. I was in teaching. And what did I know about fashion and this industry? And I think that actually helped me because it wasn't clouded in industry talk and jargon and data and experience. It was actually just a very intuitive process of listening to our community, growing this brand together, creating clothes that people asked for and wanted, that I knew I thought was cute, that looked good on all body shapes. And so really, I think in a lot of ways, it helped me stay really focused on what I was doing, not having that reference point, but you're always battling that, if I only, I'm not an expert. And so the self-talk, it was like, I was often hard on myself, and I still am. But I also think it's a reason why Smash+Tess had the traction that it did.
So Ashley, you talk about the imposter syndrome, and there's a very interesting move about this. When you go from one industry, like a teacher, and then get into the fashion world, which really wasn't your backyard, you might feel like that. And my fear was always fear of failure. I till today have that fear. That's what drives me out of bed so early in the morning, and I go to bed so late at night because my fear of failing is so high at times. Tell me about is there a connection between those two, or is it just that you're trying something outside of your backyard that may be brand new to you?
Yeah, so the thing is when I became a teacher, I realized that I didn't think I was smart enough or good enough. Even though I had a graduate degree ultimately in education, I still felt like an imposter. And then that carried with me in I had a career in finance. Same thing. What am I doing here? I don't know what I'm doing. Then it came again in my career in fashion. And then I started to realize now I'm like, I think that's just a feeling we all have. And it doesn't even matter how qualified we are. And it doesn't, how many years we've done or schooling we've done. We battle with it. And so I have the hindsight now to know that, okay, this has now followed me through all three of my careers, and I likely will follow me till the end. And so it's really put that in perspective for me. And I think too, what makes an entrepreneur is that we often don't sit in our success for long. In fact, we might not sit in our success at all. We're ultimately so focused on the future. And so because of that, we don't celebrate the success. And when people say, oh, you're a big deal, like even you're like, oh, you're the entrepreneur, you're a role model. I'm going, I am? Like, it's just not it's not my self-talk. And I think we could all use a little bit more of that positive self-talk, and I definitely think I'm starting to realize that in those moments of success, we need to celebrate them. I tell this to my CFO all the time. So I'm like, listen, this was a success. Let's celebrate it. Because if we don't, we just get stuck in the failures. And there's failures every day. Every day we fail at something that we try at. The more people talk, I think, about being scared or being a failure, or the more you realize, oh, we all actually think like that. And then it the illusion is kind of cracked open, and we realize we're all just in the same cycle, especially as entrepreneurs. So I think that's part of it, is the more we talk about it, and I think that's a big conversation I see time and time again when I'm in women's conferences. We talk a lot about that imposter syndrome. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we crack it open and we kind of get over it and move through it. But to say we're never going to have fear, I mean, that's what it is, right? To be an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
You eat what you kill, just is what it is.
I totally agree, Ashley. I think that where the thing what happened when the imposter situation is similar to when I used to grow up and I had my report card. I would bring it to my family, my mom and my dad. My dad would make me sit on the ground So picture this. I'm on the ground submitting my report card, and there's two things he looks at. What was the best mark and what was the lowest mark? And we have a longer conversation, the lowest mark, than what's on the best mark. We didn't celebrate the success. We focused on what could have been the better opportunity, or what I sometimes took it as failure. And that stuck with me throughout my career. Yeah. And at some point, when I look back over the decades, equilibrium comes into play. The lowest mark on my report card was stuff I didn't even need to do in my future. Who cares about that? The things that I was doing well were the ones that I didn't celebrate, but I'm kicking ass in that. And there's a big difference. I think if we do focus on our success and double or triple down on that and go, okay, yeah, I could have done better here, but look at what I'm doing really well, you'll find momentum a lot faster. And equilibrium will hit in your life a lot sooner.
True. Yeah, focus on that. Focus on that good stuff. And how do you do more of that, versus like the bad, It's a really good point.
Actually, in my business, what I've evolved over is starting to kind of niche out into a certain group and try not to be all things to all people. And that took a lot of evolution, working with my business partner. We have a program called Hemingway, where we literally every year go away from our business, drink again, start to write all our ideas, sober up the next day and edit, which is the Hemingway concept. And we would then look at ways that we can actually add value along the way. And so the hardest part for us was to actually realize that what we thought we were going to do in this industry that we're in is not what we really are going to do, because what the demand or the need of the people, where we can add the most value, was changing. And so we saw that and we jumped on board. I kind of find that that's very similar with Smash+Tess, because you went in the loungewear, but you kind of hit a certain type of fashion for a certain type of individual or consumer, which I think you're narrowing down your scope versus trying to be all things to all people. How did you get to the point where you wanted to be in that zone?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We had this moment in our first fall collection when we launched the Romper, and it just took off, and we had to make the decision: do we stick with what we thought we were going to be, or do we listen to what it is that the people want? And the people wanted the Rompers. And so it's about we checked our ego at the door, and whatever creative vision we thought, was going to be the thing that everyone needed. It became an exercise in really learning, and this dialogue that we have and we continue to have with our community around what do they want? What do they need? What makes them feel great? What doesn't? What do they have enough of? What are they dying to try? And so through social media in particular, using that as a listening device and really being able to gather data and key information and anecdotes. And I think, that's a challenge sometimes when you're a business owner, because it might not be what you set out to do. And really it's about, I think if I was to say, how did we get here? I would say we pivot real fast and real hard all the time. We always say we're going to fail fast. We try something, fail fast, move on. And so I think that's why we've been nimble and we've been able to feed this niche that we sort of stumbled upon, to be honest. I think what we didn't stumble upon was the need for, women to have a really safe, exciting, uplifting digital community. And that's what we set out to do. And we never deviated from that. That avenue, that channel, that community stayed the same. And the product is what sort of shifted depending on what that community wanted.
So I look at my business and I look at, we advertise conventionally, TV, radio, we've been in print, we've done a social media, podcast, video on YouTube and stuff like that. We've done it pretty much everywhere. But when I look at Smash+Tess, not the same approach. You kind of narrowed yourselves down to a certain platform. I would just guess that it's social media, primarily on the Instagram page, where you've built the community. Was that by intent, or how did you come to that conclusion that, first of all, social media, secondly, Instagram was the right pick for you?
I wasn't sure in the beginning. I knew that this thing called Instagram was starting to get popular. And believe it or not, I wasn't a huge social media person. I wasn't. I've really learned that through my time. And what I've learned about social media is it has this bad rap. And of course, there's all kinds of darkness to social media and there's all kinds of problems. But what I've actually found is that if you're really clear about the kind of community you want to create and be a part of, and you protect it and you stay true to your values and what matters to you, then it can be this really special place. And I think we sort of spark that early on and realize, like, you know, when we post photos, it's people saying, oh, this looks beautiful. And I love the shapes and sizes. And I love the diversity we're seeing in your imagery. And we've created a very tight knit group of people that really support. We launched a product this morning. It sold out in 3 minutes because the community is just that in tune with the product drops. And so I don't think that I knew I was going to do it on social media, but I do think as soon as I started to sort of test out the waters and think, what are the avenues, it felt like it made a lot of sense to me. And I will say over the years, this social media community has been remarkable. I mean, we've gone through a lot together. We've gone through a pandemic together. I went through having a premature baby where this community stepped up and all the NICU moms were giving me tips and advice. And so it's really a special place. And although we still have some traditional channels, you know, we still use press for sure. We have PR agencies and we're in Chatelaine this morning and we're in InStyle last week, and that all still matters. But I think when it boils right down to it, it's the connection you have with your community. And that's what's fostered the growth that we've had. And not only that, just the friendships and the relationships and it's really special. And so I always defend social media because I'm like, yes, there are a lot of bad things about it. And iOS 14's made it very difficult for us to buy new customers. It's been really challenging. But it can be a really special place if you build that kind of a community.
Absolutely. Your community will transcend any iOS upgrade or any type of block. So I applaud you on that. One of the hardest things I've found in my business is balancing everything. And let me give you a bit of a background. Being a single father of 2 teenage girls, going and being dad for them, running a business, working with your business partner, taking care of your clients, growing your business, understanding about things that are beyond your own natural abilities, and then focusing on me, developing myself as a human being and juggling all these different things. It is intense at times. And I always want to know when people are starting off or when they've built as much as you've built in your business, how the heck do you balance everything? How did you handle all this stuff?
I'm still handling it and not very well, I will say. People are like, how did you find balance? I'm like, what balance? I don't have any balance. I mean, but I always for me, being off balance is actually usually an indicator of me evolving. And so I try to lean into that feeling of discomfort when I'm feeling uncomfortable, when I'm feeling stretched and challenged in all kinds of ways. It's when I know that I'm growing, and really what else are we here to do, but evolve as humans. And so I try to lean into that. But at the same time, 100%, I mean, as a mom in particular, that has added a layer to my life where I struggle to do both well, to mother and to run my business, which is my other baby. But for a lot of reasons, I've kind of created a nice groove for myself where my kids are a part of what I do. I create content with them. They try on the rompers. They see me work. And I had the luxury of having a working mom in finance in the 80s. And so when I was growing up, it wasn't easy to have a mom who couldn't pick me up from school and who couldn't come to all my games. And, she was busy. And at the time, it felt kind of painful sometimes. But in retrospect, I realized that she actually imparted the biggest gift to me, which is that you can have a passion and a dream and a life, outside of everything else, that she modeled what it meant to love something so much and go after it. And so it's a gift she's given me. And now in turn, I'm giving my girls, I have 2 girls. And the best part, and this is the different part, is in this new world, we're working remote. And so, I'll be on a conference call and my girls will be beside me. They'll say, I want to work with you, mommy. And they'll be coloring. And meanwhile, I'm doing business, and it's kind of a blend. And I guess that's the silver lining of COVID, is we've all figured out how to work remote. And that's been a gift for me too. So it's a constant challenge. And, I have lots of sleepless nights and lots of guilt. And it's just about the self-talk. And that's really it. It's a journey.
It is a journey for sure. And part of the journey of being a business owner is knowing when you can't do everything, which was a big challenge for my business partner and I. When we started our practice, we thought we could do it all. And then we realized with the amount of work that we want to do and the value we want to give back to our client or customer, we can't do it all. And we're not the best at everything. And so we had to expand our team and rapidly expand our team. You've done the same thing in your business. You've rapidly expanded your team, bringing on more and more people, not only as influencers to promote your brand, but actually on your team and payroll.
Yeah, it's been a wild year for Smash+Tess. We went from 28 people to 75. It's so exciting to have energy. I mean, when you're a founder and you've created something, to see other people that love your brand as much as you love your brand, or love your customers as much as you care about your customers, is a really surreal experience. I've learned so much from everybody. We hire for entrepreneurs. So everyone we hire at Smash+Tess has to have that like entrepreneurial mindset and heart, that are, really open to pivoting quick and being flexible. And there's no corporate red tape, which is exciting for our team. But I've certainly had to level up my leadership in a way that, I'm not as hands-on as I used to be. It's really more about the holistic approach and really helping to motivate and inspire our leaders. We have an executive team I never had before. It used to just be me running everything. And so I've got very seasoned experts that have stepped in to run their functions, which has been really exciting. And I think it was, what tripped me off was, I remember I was looking at, people were interested in investing in the business. And the first thing they said is, oh, we would put it in an executive team. And I kind of walked away from, this is between you and I kind of walked away from that and went, I could just do that on my own. Yep. I don't need you guys. I don't need you to put in an executive team. I'll put in an executive team. And so that's what I did. And I feel it's a different thing when you're a part of a bigger team. It really feeds the soul. The creative energy is exciting. I love how, the perspectives that I need to know, what are my blind spots, and this is the power of having a team that is, of leaders, of true leaders and entrepreneurs. So exciting times.
One of the hardest parts of being a business owner is what I call the hockey stick growth model, where you're kind of, the bottom of your hockey stick, you're kind of growing and all of a sudden it just takes off like the shaft of the stick. And you're like, oh my God, in 2020, 66% year over year growth. You've now surpassed almost $17 million in sales. You're number 8 on the Globe and Mail's top growth companies for 2020. Like, these are huge, huge numbers. What's that like? And how do you keep everything under wraps? Because you look like you got everything under control here, girl. I don't know how you do it.
I don't. It's an illusion. Yes, that was intense. That was a really quick ramp up of growth. We're actually going to probably close this year at 27 million. So it's been a very steep trajectory, and scaling the business has not been easy. It's one thing to do 5 million in revenue. It's quite another to do 16, especially when you're doing local productions. We produce everything in Vancouver, BC, which is a strain on them, a strain on us. And it's just the model of having to invest that far ahead in fabric inventory is not the same as what we were used to doing when you do quick 100 units, quick turn into it. So I have learned so much. And not only that, I'm still learning so much and making tons of new mistakes. But our philosophy at Smash+Tess is, I'm like, listen, if you're not making mistakes, you're not taking risks. So make new mistakes. Just don't make old mistakes. That's the key. We're trying not to make old mistakes. And we're kind of feeling our way through as best as we can with as much data as we can. We've gotten a lot smarter because we've hired some great people that all they do is plan and look at data and before it was just like, what do I think will be cute, And now there's people that help me do that, and that's really cool. But it's also really challenging to grow that fast and to keep aligned with your values, and that's really what guides you in the end. It's if you don't have your values, you're going to be all over the place. It keeps us in our lane. It keeps us focused on the future. It keeps us excited and grounded in what we set out to do. But yeah, it's been hard. It's in some ways harder than launching the business has been really scaling the business. It's been tough.
I can only imagine, Ashley, how that exponential growth that you have becomes harder and harder, because sometimes we anchor to that growth level and say, how can we continue at that pace? I know I've had that problem in the past. Okay, we've grown high double digits. Let's do it again. And everybody's looking around going, calm down. Like this is not
Yes.
reality. Like let's get back to reality. Let's we had a good couple of years, but let's not keep that as the norm. You're going to burn everybody out. You're going to burn out yourself. So it's great to see that. Now you've done something I think which is quite unique. You've built and I'm going to call it a business on the e-commerce site. I'm not going to call you an e-commerce business because there's multiple ways where you can be omni-channel. Are you looking for that in the future? Like where's Smash+Tess going? Is it just going to be online? Are we looking at retail stores?
Yeah, well, so we originally, yes, we're direct to consumer, e-com was our thing. And then we actually went into some wholesale. So we were serving, close to 300 stores in Canada. But now actually our focus is to go back to our roots, back to direct to consumer with the goal of having a flagship and also in real life activation. So we just had our first pop-up in Coquitlam Center in Vancouver and that far exceeded our expectations. It was so fun. The community loved being able to come in and shop and try on the product. So yeah, we definitely have an omni vision for the brand and it's a matter of where and when and how. And as we know, this pandemic is making it so hard to figure out what to do. Like we're in the middle of, and I keep saying to my team, in 10 years from now, it'll be great. We'll look back and go, oh yeah, okay, that was the trend. That all made sense. But right now we're just feeling our way through a really challenging time in retail.
One of the things I applaud you on is your ability to get influencers on board. Now, there are many businesses out there who are going to be watching this. These business owners saying, I would love to have influencers. How does a business owner get a celebrity to use or try their product so they can get more reach?
Oh, that's the question. That is the $1 million question that everyone asks. They're like, how did you do it? How did you get on Hillary Duff? Well, a whole lot of tenacity is the first answer to that question. Is every business owner knows this. But when you're giving away product, it's like, you know what that costs. You know the margin. You're like, oh, it's tough. But you really do have to double down and invest and smartly. So for us, we've always had a seeding program where we seed influencers, we seed celebrities. We do it usually through PR agencies. But really, in our situation, we just made a lot of friends and they're influencers, yes, but it was based on a real organic relationship where the product was the right fit for their life and lifestyle. And that became a friendship. And now we support each other. We create product together. But you're going to hear a million no's. You just have to keep going. And I think we didn't get Hillary Duff right away. It wasn't a yes, slam dunk. It was a lot of persistence and, showing that we were the right partner. There isn't, a playbook per se, but you do have to give away some product if you want people to try it and talk about it. And that can be a really challenging thing when your cash is tied up in that inventory. So it's a constant journey. You're always looking for new friends, new influencers, new celebrities to wear your product and talk about your product. So those are some tips that worked for me anyway.
When it comes to your community, Ashley, what's next there? Because there's one thing of providing product. There's one thing to sell something to them, but you're building more than a sale. You're building that community. What's next for the Smash+Tess community for 2022?
We want to continue to offer support and encourage our community to hang with us. But I think part of that is that in real life opportunity. So that's what we're really focusing on right now. We've been huddling and strategizing around what does it mean to experience the brand in person. And so we're looking at really non-traditional ways of retail that are really more about hanging out and getting together and celebrating, especially after the pandemic. I say after because I know, we're still in it, I know, but we're all disconnected in ways that, I don't even think we fully comprehend at this moment. It's really about how can we create opportunity to connect again and with each other? And shop the clothes because I think collectively our community is doing a really cool thing for fashion. We're slowing down the model. We're making our stuff locally. We are featuring women of all shapes and sizes. This is the stuff that we need to be doing more in the fashion industry. And so every time someone buys a romper, that's what they're supporting truly. And that's what I want to continue to garner and create space for.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today, taking time out of your schedule. This is fantastic. Of course, on the Karmali Exchange, you're not only going to get the best entrepreneurs, but you're going to get the best advice. And we've got one here with Ashley Freeborn, CEO, principal, co-founder of Smash+Tess. Ashley, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. So great.
Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any new video on this channel. Also, feel free to follow me on social media at Faisal Karmali.